Okay, so section C, this will be the last bit of the paper. You need to answer question 7 and not question 8. Don't be tempted to do the question you're not supposed to do. You might like the look of the multiple choice or something like that. However, you won't be able to answer the 8 marker. So this is challenges of the urban world, and this is all the things to do with megacities in developing and the developed world. And we watched a lot of the megacities Andrew Marr's videos for this, so if you can just picture that in your mind, that is going to help you an awful lot. Let's do a bit of comparison first. So we have developing world cities and developed world cities, and for this we're going to use Los Angeles versus Mumbai, which is in India. So the first thing we need to compare are the economic activities. So here in a place like Mumbai, we know that a lot of people will be working in the service or manufacturing, secondary industry, particularly in textiles. Half the people who work in factories in Mumbai are working in textile factories making clothes, and we also know there's quite a lot of IT, banking and call centres in Mumbai as well. It's also the location of Bollywood. Key though is that many people will work in the informal sector, which is where you don't have a contract, you don't have any workers' rights, you're not paying tax, so it's all those informal economy style jobs. Street selling, shoe shining, that sort of thing. Right, Los Angeles on the other hand has a lot of people employed in the service industry, particularly IT, that sort of thing, but quite a lot of their people are employed in trade because of the port. You will also find people in the quaternary sector, so in aerospace. The most important thing here though is that most people are employed in the formal sector, so they have proper contracts, they pay tax, get sick pay, workers' rights, etc. Okay? The other thing we need to compare before we get onto the fun bit, the easier bit, is the spatial development. So that is about how the cities are growing. So here we have really, really rapid growth. In fact, 4% a year. So that city, Mumbai, is getting bigger by 4% every year. Why? And it's to do with that multiplier effect. So more and more industries attract more and more people. So you have rural to urban migration and a high natural increase, so large families. The city is just growing and growing and growing, and it's growing as more and more slums or shanty towns are being added to the edge of the city. As more and more people move to the city, can't find anywhere to live, the city can't cope with the amount of people living there. It's leading to all sorts of housing and environmental problems, so it's just expanding constantly. Now, this is a little bit different. If we imagine this is LA and we have some other little settlements here, what you get in the developed world is urban sprawl. So that city will eat up and merge with surrounding cities. But they're growing at a much slower rate, partly because people are trying to move out of the city looking for a better quality of life. But urban sprawl is these suburbs constantly being added on, and everything is merging together, and it's creating this idea of conurbations, which is where cities merge together to create one giant city. Right, so let's have a look, think about London. I'm just going to talk about London for a little bit. So we're looking at the challenges and the solutions. I'm going to keep this quite brief. You're going to remember a lot of this. So the main challenge in developed world cities is the high eco footprint. And this is because of the high demand for food, so the wealthy consumers want to be supplied with lots of food, and in fact London has to produce 7.9 million tonnes of food every year. There's a high demand for energy due to heating, air conditioning, appliances, so think about all the things in your home that uses electricity. There is congestion, high CO2 emissions due to all the transport, and this all adds to this huge carbon footprint. And in fact also London produces 20 million tonnes of waste a year. So it's trying to tackle this in various ways, trying to reduce the eco footprint, and they're doing this by introducing things like the green buses, which are hybrid and therefore have fewer carbon emissions. Building new suburbs such as BedZ, which uses 81% less energy than a normal housing area and recycles 60% of its waste. The underground system was extended to encourage more people to use public transport, and you've also got the Barclays now Santander cycle hire, so like your Boris bikes. Other things you can talk about, especially hire candidates, you can talk about retrofitting and the way that people are being encouraged to recycle. The challenges facing developing world cities like Mumbai and Dakar are very, very different. So we have housing and environmental issues, and the main one are slums. And here we have overcrowding, lack of basic services like not connected to the sewage network, lack of clean water, which in turn will lead to disease, high levels of crime, because often these slums are run by drug lords or gangs, lack of schools, lack of health services, overcrowding, and dangerous because they're often built on land where no one else wants to live. A good example of a slum is Dharavi, which is in Mumbai, and 1 million people live in that. And you've also got Rosinya, which is in Rio, again a really famous shanty town. Your other issues are urban pollution. So we have water pollution, mainly due to the dumping of untreated sewage, untreated industrial, toxic waste, think about water quality, and also untreated oil from the local airport. We also have significant air pollution due to the amount of traffic, factories, and the burning of coal to generate energy, to generate electricity. So significant housing and environmental issues. And there have been some solutions to these. So one of the solutions to shanty towns or favelas are these things called self-help schemes. And what this involves is providing building materials to the local people. They will build the favela themselves, or their home themselves, and then once their home has been built, they will be connected to the sewage system and clean water and electricity. So that's going to help. We also have the PPU, which is the Police Pacification Unit, which is whereby the police will go into a favela, they will take control back from the drug lords or the gangs, and then once the place is under control, they will hand over the running of the policing to the community support police, so the police within the community. And that's been really successful, actually. And also in Dakar, Water Aid via something called Prodi Plan have tried to improve the quality of life by building tube wells and sanitation blocks. So obviously this will have a significant impact on reducing the level of disease and improving quality of life. So can sustainable living ever be a possibility in cities? Well, a few cities have some success stories. One is Mexico City, who have the green plan. They were the city with the most polluted air in the world's most polluted city. However, they introduced this green plan, which involved a bus or a rapid transit system that was affordable and would encourage people not to use their cars. They have a bike rental scheme. You might be surprised about something like this in a place like Mexico City. And they also have this idea that children can only go to school on the bus. They're not allowed to be taken to school by car, so that all these things reduce the amount of cars on the road, which will reduce the air pollution. There's some other successes. Curitiba is a place in Brazil. They've been very successful via urban planning. They have a transport system based on buses, which is very efficient. And the schools and the services are staggered, so they avoid having a rush hour, and this will reduce congestion as well. The bus fares are really affordable. 70% of their waste is recycled, and they had a scheme whereby you could get bus tickets in exchange for recycling. They also have lots of green spaces planned around the edge of the city, which has discouraged the formation of shantytowns. The final place you may have heard of is Masdar City. This is a new sustainable city in the UAE, the United Arab Emirates, and it is zero carbon and zero waste. So they have these large walls that block out the sun, and then they have fountains as well that are used to cool the air, and there are no cars. They have this driverless rapid transit system that you can use to get around the city. Now, I would advise you that you try and watch some videos, so I'll resend out the video link because they will help you remember. Okay, but that is question 7, literally in a nutshell. Refer back to your cards, please, for this, and look at your notes, and try and watch some megacity videos. Good luck.